Alright, skeleton key drop rates have been changed with the dawning patch, so let's take a look at the new data. I ran Siva Heroic and Siva Crisis playlists until I got 10 skeleton keys from each. This had to be done over multiple play sessions to keep my sanity. Not that there's much of that left. For Siva Heroics, it took 46 strikes to get 10 keys to drop, averaging 1 key every 4.6 strikes. This was done over 2 play sessions, totaling right at 9 hours. The least amount of strikes it took to see a key drop was 2, and the most was 10. Aside from that one occurrence though, every key dropped within running 5 strikes of each other. For the normal Siva Crisis playlist, it took 44 strikes for me to get 10 keys, averaging 1 key every 4.4 strikes. This took slightly longer with 2 play sessions totaling slightly over 10 hours. The least amount of strikes it took to see a key drop was 3, but the most was 7. Also, because I did it last time, I ran the Nightfall 20 times to see how many keys I got, because you gotta be thorough with this. The answer I got is 2. I got 2 keys from doing 20 Nightfalls. I think it's very clear now that you should not be running Nightfalls to farm for keys. So, how much of an increase are we seeing here from the previous skeleton key drop rates? My older tests took 55 heroic strikes to get 10 keys, and 61 normal strikes to get 10 keys. It's hard to tell the exact drop percents on keys since it would just require too much data for me to collect by myself. But the data I had before, compared to the new data that I am getting now, seems to indicate an increase from about 15% to about 20%. The new data also suggests that there's no real difference in terms of which strikes drop more. I know before the patch the overwhelming opinion was that the normal strikes dropped more, and this was most likely due to how quickly they could be run. Keep in mind, most of us were not at maximum light at the time, so 320 strikes were easier to blitz through than the heroic ones. Now, going off this data, I feel like there isn't any difference in which strikes you should run to farm keys. The only determining factor in choosing which strike playlist you go into in search for keys should be based on which one you feel more comfortable going through. 320 strikes are a walk in the park for the most part. Heroic strikes, assuming you have good gear loadouts and the modifiers are good that week, can be done quicker now and offer the same percent to get a skeleton key. So whichever strike playlist you feel like you can get through the fastest will be the best choice for you. Some weeks heroics will be better, and other weeks normals will be better. I feel like I should also tell you guys about probability and drop rates and the way that I seem to understand it. Say an item has a 1% chance to drop. Well, logically, if you do that activity 100 times, then you'd probably get it to drop at least 1 time. But that isn't how that works. Not at all. The real way it works in video games is every single time you run that activity, the drop rate of that item is still at 1%. The only thing that's changing is the probability of you continuing to not see that item, but that isn't built into the activity. That's just kind of an outside force mocking you. So when you're farming for skeleton keys, just be patient if you aren't getting one to drop. At this point, they have a 20% drop rate, at least I think, and that's a fairly high amount since it means you should be getting a key about every 5 strikes. My data seems to suggest that as well. But like I said earlier, just because it hasn't dropped by your 5th one, it doesn't mean that it's broken. It just means that you have bad luck for a very short amount of time. The one other thing I should mention is that Bungie also added in the much requested guaranteed skeleton key per week. The first time you run the Nightfall every week will automatically grant you 1 skeleton key as part of the reputation and other stuff that you get at the end of the strike. So if you need a key for something, that's where you should go to get it quickly. If you're looking for an item and you need a lot of keys though, the Siva Heroic and Siva Crisis playlists offer up the exact same drop percent, so pick whichever one you feel most comfortable with. I feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, so I'm just going to say thank you for watching, and I hope you found this new information helpful. I'll see you next time.